All right, welcome back to Finding Truth podcast on Unscripted Truth TV. Logan here with Austin once again, and nothing to complain about over here this last week. It's been fine weather-wise, and so we're finally into the full thick of things, I think, and it's shaping up to where it might be a hot one. This might be another hot one. Like we've had some pretty crazy ones down up in the Pacific Northwest. This might be another one, but right off the bat, I think we're going to, as usual, cover the NASCAR race. And if you hung out with us long enough, or at least long enough to hear us ramble about NASCAR at the beginning of our episodes, my boy is Shane Van Gisbergen. So, I'm over here, celebrating the fixed races as much as the next guy. But we'll cover exactly, because honestly, it's a bit surprising. That's definitely surprising for us. We joke about it enough, but it's interesting that it, went ahead and happened. And it's also interesting that it happened, outside of America. So we'll talk about the implications of that. But with it being outside of America and Mexico specifically, we're gonna get a little brag session in because our number one pick from last week, did win in the Xfinity series. And so we'll talk about that and how I personally, I don't think either one of us knew he was racing in Xfinity as well. So, and we don't really cover Xfinity too much, but anyway, still, we'll take that. We'll take that as a W, just for piercing the narrative, even though they did kind of make it obvious, as they sometimes do. But then I think we'll transition into the next phase of our series of discussions on the human condition and things of that nature. And we'll kind of piggyback off of our last week's discussion, but also, kind of throw in the what's happening in the times right now. Of course, we have a lot of civil unrest, if you will, and the ICE raids, quote unquote, whether or not they're psyops or things of that nature. You got, rioters that, we've seen this story play out before. And, I think we both know what was the driving force for those things. So we'll discuss what's kind of been on the tip of everybody's conscious this last week for sure, especially with Trump's birthday celebrations. So he definitely got some fireworks for his birthday week, and so we'll talk about that. But without further ado, I'll kick it down to Austin. How's it going, dude?
Well, it's going all right. I'd say it's episode 39, the big 3-9. Yeah, it's not too bad of a day. It's sun's out. It's a little smoky, foggy, hazy out here. It's not the 90s we had a week ago, and 90s we had kind of like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday-ish, and then it kind of cooled off a bit. And then it was pretty cold Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was kind of a bit chilly. It was kind of gray and stuff and kind of crappy. And it's about the nicest it's been in about 3 days, 3 days. So nice to kind of see the sun again. It's a little bit smoky, foggy, hazy out here from the fires and stuff that have been kind of running rampant, I guess, this week. And yeah, overall, wasn't a bad week. Just kind of like a few things here and there, kind of seen some things. Not too much of overaction, anything with the like the riots and stuff and all that stuff kind of making its way my way. There was like a few things I've seen and noticed here and there, but nothing too much. So kind of everything's been pretty quiet for the most part. So it's been pretty comfortable on those ends. It's been pretty that's it, but it's been a quick, fast paced week. Not too much really happened. It's kind of a few things to note here and there that I thought were interesting. But yeah, other than that, not too much, nothing really new. Overall in the bigger aspect of things. More so, we were talking about how we were looking forward to this episode 39, just all the implications and stuff. And there's a lot of things that kind of seem to have worked their way into the week and through the week. And they've kind of seemingly kind of came to a head today in this big old Mexico race at over 7,000 feet, Mexico City.
Yeah, and we spoke last week, just with the overarching theme of Mexico, just looking at it from that lens, and they were pushing heavily in their promotionals for Suarez Jr. And funny enough, he does win. He wins the Xfinity series, and like I said in the intro, we did not know he was racing in the Xfinity series specifically, but I think that that's at least a sign that we're on the right track with figuring these things out. And it's more than just like, oh, Mexican in Mexico. That's, if you watch last week's episode, we do break things down, the 33s, whether it's his name or his team and things of that nature. And I can't remember all the specific details, but there was definitely a good amount of evidence pointing towards, because at first we were kind of like, oh, maybe he'll win it. And then we were like, wait, no, maybe he will win it. Look at all these numbers. Hold up. But then, so yeah, I mean, if you want to stay there, but yeah, you make a great point in intertwining that the turmoil that's going on in the States with our brothers down south, and how seemingly if you were to just be a NASCAR fan and don't watch anything else, you probably don't know anything's going on right now. If anything, you think maybe maybe Mexico and us are like the greatest allies in the world, because who what are the odds that, think about the juxtaposition we have here. Every news channel you flip to, so say you are a NASCAR fan and you go to watch the game the day of the race, it's just like every news channel, LA on fire, Portland starting to break out, and whoop, beep, Texas going crazy, the more ice raids, and then you get to ESPN, it's just like it's just like happy Mexican times. Woo! So it's just like, it's funny how, what are the odds? This race in Mexico, these things are planned so far ahead of time. Obviously, like if you were to know somebody who works like the event staff, they would have told you like, yeah, we've had this on the calendar. It's been planned ahead of time. And you might say, oh yeah, that's fine. That's normal. But what's the coincidence here that it lines up with the week of all the ice raids on Trump's birthday week, and number 88 wins? Well, I don't think we've touched on that yet, but I alluded to it. But as you can see here, number 88. And if you follow any of the information that me and Austin are kind of adjacent to, and more than just adjacent to, we were really from it. We come out of the information from Zach's channel and Gematria Effect News. But 88 is huge with Trump, and we kind of signaled for that. In fact, that was kind of one of the reasons why I was like jokingly attached to him when the first race we covered, because if you guys remember, if you're NASCAR fans, Trump came out and did the initial lap, or the whatever they call it, whatever, the initial lap for NASCAR. He drove in the season basically, and so from right then and there, you could tell that this would be connected to him. And when I found out there was a driver number 88, that's kind of one of the reasons why I've been kind of attached to him. And but yeah, he's just had a pretty abysmal season. But it's not a driver you would suspect ever gets a win. It's like, yeah, he might have some top 5 finishes and call that a good season for him, the way it's shaping up. But for him to squeak out a win, and why and how he did, is kind of what we're going to be talking about moving forward, right?
Yeah, and just there's so many things going into this week. Just with him, his first win ever, just 2 years ago. I forget what car he was driving when he won 2 years ago in that race. It was his very first race ever. And then today it's the very first race ever in Mexico for the Cup Series. And here we go, and he wins as well. So every time there's a first, it's going to be Van Ginsberg. And two, I mean, going with the Suarez thing, of course we talked about Ross Chastain Coke 600 win just a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. Just that was just a few weeks ago, and he started dead last, wins the race in the longest race of the year, and then Suarez this week crashes in qualifying, starts dead last, wins the Xfinity race in Mexico, and then you got the guy starting on the pole who wins. So one guy starts last and wins, one guy starts first and wins. So, and you have two winners from out of the country. You got Van Ginsberg from Auckland, New Zealand, and then you got the hometown hero there going from last to first there, Suarez. So they really had it all set to go. I mean, even the just the sponsorship. I mean, there's rain in the race, or at over 7,000 feet up in the air, and um, there was weather that was they're changing tires, they're putting rain tires on, they had the windshield wipers on. It was that kind of race where you didn't. It was kind of crazy to know what to really expect, and go figure. Ginsburg's got the weathertech.com on his car, and then
Right. I have
his
that.
other sponsor, his other sponsor too as well. So they were clever with the sponsors and sponsorships, the numbers. They had it all really set to go for this one. The 99 Suarez, the 88 Ginsburg, all coming together.
Let's see if I can pull that up. That's a little bit grainy for you guys. Sorry. I'm sure there's a better picture. It says WeatherTech right there on the front of his car, but I'll try to find a better picture as we go. There is one promotional picture I do want to show you guys. This is from earlier in the week. They put this out on their Instagram page, and sorry, I have to blow it up and then it covers it up. So it's really annoying, but that should be all right. But yeah, it's just, what are the odds? He squeaks in there. This is before qualifying too. So, before even the pole, they're just like, yeah, throw Van Gisbergen in there. He's having a great year. You know, when you get promotions for for basketball, they don't, it's not some like bench player on there. So it's interesting that the imagery that they give you. Of course, they put Suarez front and center, and but yeah, I got Gisbergen right there, like to the point where it's almost it is interesting. At the very least, I kind of wanted to show you guys their predictive programming they like to do, and of course, hindsight's 2020. But you know, this is kind of what I was saying. It's hard to say, with all the highlighting of Suarez Jr., you almost want to say, oh, they wouldn't do that. But sometimes they just do it. Sometimes they do just like the thing that makes like never mind. It makes the most sense, not in a logical way, but it makes the most sense, like narrative way. They just do that sometimes. Sometimes like the first just happens, like when it's the most improbable that it could happen, and they'll chalk it up to the just inner spirit and the guy's drive to win and the drive to be drive, quote unquote, to be the best. At this moment, like it just he conquered the situation and you know rose to the they make it very like storybook, very much like a Roman wow, what are those called? Like a myth, like a tale. It's such like a David and Goliath type of situation. They love writing these narratives in, and so yeah, you have this first points race of ever in Mexico, and you get the Mexican American that wins it, while ice raids are happening in Mexico and is like threatening not Mexico, the country, but like Mexicans here are, threatening retaliation and in some cases doing retaliation. But I don't even. Well, we'll talk about that in the second half of our episode. So stay tuned for that. But Yeah, just showing you some promotional, and then of course I'll try to pull up the. Oh, I wanted to show you this too. So yeah, this is kind of goes with what I was saying before. It's just like turning the TV channel, fires, destruction, riot gear, NASCAR. Just like it's incredible how they do that. Like, yeah, and there's Leggy,
Big leggy.
big old Leggy, back at the pack, Leggy. What
Yeah, and
else we
just
got?
look at the sponsorship too. He had the culture car, the
Yeah,
whatever,
safety
whatever.
culture.
Yeah, safety culture. I mean, think about that: safety culture, and everything that's going on too. So even the sponsor, the weather tech, and the weather, and it's just they had this one just so ready to go. Trump's birthday yesterday, Mr. 88.
Oh, here's a better picture, guys. Weathertech.com. Also, how I guess maybe they would have had some foreknowledge about the rain to be able to install the wipers on all the cars. Do you think that's an easy thing for them to do?
Yeah, they used to in the Xfinity series, used to be the Nationwide or Busch series. They would only do like weather tires and they had the weather. They took the weather tires, put them on a little bit in the beginning of the race. They took them off. So they used to do that in the other series of wipers. But if there was ever rain in the race in the Cup series, they wouldn't have the race in the rain. And then they
Mhm.
changed that. So now they do Cup races if it's a road course in the rain. They'll put on rain tires and the windshield wipers and all that. So there was a bit of that in this race. Um, yeah, there was that element. I mean, like I said, they're up over 7,000 feet. I was looking at the radar too for the race, and I didn't see any rain. But when you're up at 7,000 feet, it's kind of hard to say what you're really going to get up there, anyway. So it's kind of hard to predict the weather. But yeah, just everything for the race was set to go. I mean, the weather tech and yeah, big Ginsburg was ready for the weather. The weather wasn't gonna derail this victory.
Another Trackhouse win too. So,
Yep.
what in the last few weeks they've gotten 2 wins at after I'd say a slow start. Oh, also Red Bull is their sponsor, his sponsor too. So that's worth looking into too. Try to remember Red Bull. Didn't we just enter Taurus? No, we're in Aries, right?
Or we're past
We're-
Aries and Taurus.
Oh, what are we in?
I forget where we're in now. Because we're going into the start of summer is actually June 20th. That's the longest day of the year coming up
Mm-hmm.
in just a few days, just
Oh, we're
five
in
days. So
Gemini. Gemini, huh? Well, that's something we'll have to look at. I know Shane, I think, is one of the ones that doesn't have a winter birthday. They're few and far between in NASCAR for whatever reason. So I guess we might as well take a look at that now. Let's find him real quick. Yeah, we'll take a look at his compare it with Auckland, New Zealand too. See if
May 9th,
yeah.
he's a Taurus.
Oh yeah, so it wasn't he just had his birthday last month. Oh, he's a Taurus. He's a Taurus and he's sponsored by Red Bull. Interesting. All right, let's
Yeah, I forget when Chastain's birthday is and Suarez, but
so it's 37 days ago till his next birthday. It's not gonna give me nothing. Let's see what's his Oh, it is it was his birthday is the 129th day of the year. That's interesting. That's you know, that's one of the 201 connections we might want to think about moving forward. A base 8 counting 201 there.
Yep.
Uh, hmm. Date numerology has, some numbers. I'm struggling to remember what 166 is in gematria. That I remember having a number that I at one point, but anyway, I'll let that slide. Oh, I'll mention that in a little bit. So let's look here. Let's see, he's 36 years old from, I think I know how to spell Auckland, New Zealand. Let's see. Yeah. I think that's what I was about. Auckland, yeah. Hmm. 64. Auckland by itself. To just New Zealand.
42, 48.
48, like, what was it, Donald Trump? Yeah, I just wanted to point this out to everyone why I was mentioning Trump in 88 before, is because that's just a very popular number. Obviously, 47 is maybe the second most popular number with him. Maybe an argument for 45 as well, but yeah, these are very these numbers follow him wherever he goes. And 88 is very prevalent in his career and life. Then you also have Donald Trump equals 48, like New Zealand. Might be a bit of a stretch, but.
And 62, right? Ryan Priest in a 60 car won stage 1 today. Maybe that's why. The 60 paying tribute.
Priest again. Haven't heard him in a little bit. Let's see. What can I get rid of? I showed you guys that. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to look up this safety culture. Never mind the name. What's it all about? What? What? I don't even know what they're trying to sell here. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty confusing. It's something about work standards and safety standards. Interesting. So even the safety culture has kind of a connotation to, him driving WeatherTech, repping WeatherTech as well. I wonder he won. He's the safest driver out there.
The weather tick built right into the car.
See if I can find. Usually they like to say like what they're about and how they came about. Do they not in this? What a great tool. All right, I tried to get something out of this. I don't know if I can. It's just some like it almost looks fake. I'm sure it is something, but I guess you can program maintenance and inspection logs and things through this, and to keep track of all your stuff if you're a business or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, never mind this. I'm over it. I would like to see like where they're out of, and but it looks like they're just online. So I don't even know if they have like a base of operations, if you know what I mean.
That kind of reminds me of like Jeremy Mayfield's old like Finger Hut car. I was always looking at like Finger Hut. What the heck is Finger Hut?
Finger Hut
Yeah, he said the Finger
sounds
Hut car.
dirty.
Yeah, I'm like, what is that? Like Pizza Hut? Is this like finger? What kind of hut is Finger Hut? What's that all about? It's got like two
Mm.
fingers on there. I'm like, what is this?
Also sponsored by Red Bull. Oop. Red Bull.
Red Bull.
Is it Red Bull Racing that sponsors them, or is it just Red Bull? Maybe not racing. Maybe Red Bull Racing is like the series that Red Bull runs, like the dirt bikes and stuff.
Now there used to be a couple Red Bull cars, and they kind of disappeared after a while, but they worked their way in.
But yeah, I mean, gematria aside, you might have maybe it's more just that they like to. Sometimes the thing they're getting across is literally just safety culture in a time where you look at LA, it doesn't feel very safe. The culture is not very, it's not a safe time for the culture. It's being, some people think it's being ripped apart. Other people thinks, it needs to be ripped apart. So, and then the weather tech with it raining in Mexico is pretty funny. Not going to lie. Pretty coincidental, if you ask me. But yeah, I'm not hip to any of these necessarily these numbers or his date numerology or anything like that. Can take a look at. I know we looked at Suarez last week. Let's oops. He finished 19th. Chastain finished 16th. And Suarez, we talked about it. He's 33 years old, and there's a lot more to it. I think a lot of what we were deriving was the two brothers that died, that the Rodriguez brothers that this track is named after, and I believe I want to say from one of the brothers' death anniversary to this race was 4 months and a day, or also 121 days. And what was it? Daniel Suarez equals 41 and 120, or was it like Autodromo equals 41 and 121? Yeah, Autodromo 41 and 121, and not Pedro. I already forgot the first guy's name. Anyway, yeah, he died 4 months and a day, or 121 days from this race, or his death anniversary was from this race. So there was definitely there's ritual involved in this. That those brothers' deaths are still, they, if you think about it from like an esoteric principle, like those things were necessary. So they're going to pay homage to it. They're going almost like, so you think of it as a sacrifice, but it's more like, if not martyrdom. I'm not saying they knew they were going to die, but it's more like, how do I explain this? It's like burning, like burning a leader at the stake for like your for your city to prosper. It's like burning a leader at the stake for your city to prosper. It's like they sacrificed these brothers, and because they sacrificed them, they like hold them up on a pedestal. They'll use them for years to come as the foundation for why they're able to have the track or whatever it is that they did this for. So it's no surprise that they're gonna make callbacks to those brothers, and I'm sure every race that is raced at Autodromo. But that was one of the key reasons why we were honing in on Suarez for the win, amongst him being 33. And then there's ties to the masonry we're looking into. His birthday's January 7th. Mason equals 17, and Masons were formed or not formed in 1717, but the first lodge. There was a lot more to it. Obviously, check out last video if you haven't. But there was something to do with Monterey too, didn't we see that? That equals 129. Interesting. Oh yeah, the 81 and 27 like ritual.
Yeah.
Double 81 and the 207 in numerology can be 27. So that was interesting. But yeah, a little bit of a.
Dude, you had Denny Hamlin, the winner the week previous, not being at the race because of his kid being born. And then he's going back to Pocono where he won his like first two races and where he's won a lot of races also. So it's like it's like a ritual sandwich for him, and maybe he's going to be the favorite going into Pocono now. And then, of course, him just winning, and then him not being there this week, with his kid being born. Then you have this Mexico race, so this whole thing was very scripted and planned around a lot of different things. I mean, they had a lot going into this, in a lot more ways than one.
Yeah, and you make a good point too. And I think we talked about it just really briefly, and you mentioned, because I didn't know the reason why he wasn't in the race. And you told me, yeah, it was for the birth of a son. First of all, what I told you too is just like, that's never good news for me, or from the way I see it, I mean, because I don't, I have very pessimistic views on, maybe even dark views, you could say, on what these kids are going through that are born into celebrity, whether that's sports or movies, TV, all that kind of politics. I don't think he's going to get a chance to live a normal life potentially. And if you look at all the father son going on in NASCAR, especially, you can pretty much tell that they'll there's going to be, the onus is going to be towards gearing his son towards NASCAR, and more than likely being used by the industry that his father's in, as is so common with, like I said, celebrity sports, these things of that nature. But also, I think there is, of all the sports that, I just see the potential for a lot of interference from masonry in NASCAR. And if you guys have been paying attention, they had the Shriners race earlier on in the season, and they, from our perspective, or at least mine, it looked like they did, they used that race as a platform to perform a Hiram Abiff ritual, just like similar to how they did in the NFL. So I don't really think that this is too crazy of a take to assume that a lot of these team owners and things of that nature are Masons. And then if you think about how they function, a lot of their recruits are done in college. And, what better way to, solidify the next generation to be on board than to, have the youngins in the sport coming up be initiated early on. And so I could see it as like a recruitment ground too. NASCAR would make a great recruitment ground to continue on like a tradition or things of that nature. And it's always funny too when you get like them suing each other and like I'm sure Jordan's Boulay at the very least. Yeah, I wouldn't even be so surprised if like they would Jordan so above in stature and fame that they would just say, you know what, come on into the normal lodge. I could see it. I honestly could see it. I've never thought of Jordan as like, I won't go there. Anyway, but yeah, I could definitely see it. I mean, he's got a whole lot of. I know he won a lot of rings in the NBA, but I think he's got a few more rings on his fingers than just those. So I wouldn't put it past him being highly tied to masonry and the rituals that have been going on with him in NASCAR and everywhere else he goes.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point with like his kid, these kids coming in. I mean, because I mean, yeah, I mean, all these there's so much with the father son stuff, and you look at like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and like Richard Petty and Kyle Petty and Adam Petty and all these uh, big names, and even there's so many others that aren't big names too. But I mean, it goes for everything. It's just like um, I look at like Francis Bean Cobain. I mean, that's just another perfect example. Francis Bean Cobain, how these things. Uh, like Pope Francis and how all this stuff, these people that have these kids in these higher positions, it's uh, none of it is what it seems. I mean, you might think these kids are good and they're set for life because their parents and their families got all this money, but they're living complete controlled lives and scripted lives. Why you got Frances Bean Cobain? Why is she marrying a Kurt Cobain lookalike? Because she's Frances Bean Cobain is being told and made to marry a Kurt Cobain lookalike. That's why these things are happening. So yeah, I mean, and I know he's already got I know Hamlin's got a couple kids already. So this kid, yeah, he very well might be, by the time he's 18, 19, 20, 21 in the Cup Series, another 20 years. I mean, who knows the world will be like by then? But yeah, I mean, probably following in Denny's footsteps, most likely. Maybe driving the 11 then too.
A master number.
Yep.
So just running some numbers on his birthday to next week's race. If I'm not mistaken, 216 is what 6 times 6 times 6, right? I think that's. I could be wrong on that. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank. I'll do the quick maths. Yeah, okay. Just making sure that I was remembering correctly. So, not to say that there's anything necessarily there, but I also noticed that it's 30 weeks and 6 days. And, and if you're to combine those, let's say you combine them in numerology, you could say 36. I mean, and that's another like 3-6. They like to encode like 3-6 mafia, that type of thing. They like to do the 3-6s in their own special ways sometimes. Yeah, 216 and is interesting. Let's take a look at. We've had some success taking a look ahead at these tracks. Let's see. So let us look. The Great American Getaway. I'm sure a lot of these Mexicans are having the Great American Getaway right now. Anyway, not saying one way or another how I feel about it. Just it's to me, sometimes these esoteric jokes are undeniable, but just my opinion. The Great American Getaway. Oops. Let's take out Pocono. Oh, Pocono 33. Interestingly enough. What's the full name of the track? Pocono Raceway. The Tricky Triangle.
Yep, the Tricky Triangle.
That sounds esoteric as well.
Like Dover, the Monster Mile, we used to call Dover Down.
Pocono. And this is Blakesley, Pennsylvania. Let's just save some time. Was it PN? Is that Pennsylvania's?
I think Pennsylvania's PA.
Yeah. PA. Pocono Raceway 64. Blakesley, PA 64. There's that 72 and 54, like Jesuit order. Town of Blakesley. There's that Lee as well, so maybe we should look at maybe Byron. Let's see. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm gonna see the Tricky Triangle. It seems. And 88. Shane doing it again. He's going for the 4-peat. Just for posterity, what is? Well, they call it the Tricky Triangle, so we'll leave it there. But yeah, never mind Gettysburg necessarily. But yeah, Trump 88. So, and you know, this is Biden's hometown too, so that's kind of interesting. What's Pennsylvania by itself? Isn't that yeah, 64 as well. So a lot of 64 playing here. We'll see if that shows itself in anything else. Let's keep looking. 2.5 mile, which is kind of interesting because Tricky Triangle equals 2005, like 25 or 2.5. It kind of looks like 25.
Yeah,
4.6.
too long. 5. Yeah, 4.6. Either 4.6 or 4.7. Yeah, this race always used to be 500 miles when they changed it years back and reduced it to 400, so a bit shorter.
Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4 Long Pond Road. Interesting. Sure, they don't care about numbers.
Yeah, we're just counting, you know.
Matco Inc. What's all that about? What's Matco? Matco
56 million.
What was that?
I think it said 56 million that can. Or is that 6? Oh, that's 6. Look, 56 years ago. Open 56
The
years ago.
cost was 6 million. Yeah. Yeah, 56. That's interesting.
On May 4th.
Oh,
on
yeah,
May
5-4. Yeah. It's also now, you know, if you ask the average person, they're just Disney brains. or I'll only associate that with Star Wars nowadays. May the Fourth be with you. It should be legal to punch people to say that, but it's fine.
Just smack them.
Mm. Okay, so got 50. You know, it's been open for 56 years. It's in its 57th year. Opened on May 4th. Not arbitrary, I don't assume. Just order 54, and then Society of Jesus 56. So maybe a 201 wins it again.
Yep.
Grand larceny, perhaps. Oh yeah, let's take a quick look at some of the numbers. Looks like Reddit. You know, isn't that interesting? Reddit's like in the top 5 of so many tracks on driver averages. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it was weird. He didn't have much of a he hasn't had much of a season this season. So I'm wondering when he might have a breakthrough and get a win. I know today something happened to him today where he didn't finish well either, but Gibbs was one of the best cars today too. He had a shot to win that 54. So I'm wondering, will one of those two get a win here soon? The 54, or that 45.
You said Gibson is in the 54.
Yeah, he had a shot to win today. He had one of the best cars.
I noticed he was in
He's been good.
the Monster Energy car with the big 666
Yeah.
on it. So that's kind of interesting. Well, if he keeps his sponsor too, if that's his main sponsor next week, be interesting. Let's see. Where did he end up finishing?
I think he got 11th.
11th.
Yeah.
Down there with the dinger.
And Bubba.
And who's this Custer?
Cole Custer.
I never heard of him either. But before we move on too far ahead, I do want to at least highlight, you know, we're making history, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Because we had a leggy sighting. We saw some legs. Finished a hot 32. What do we say? What do we say about a strong woman that finished 32 today? Brave, powerful. Really, it's what she was able to do out there. Almost dead last was, nothing short of miraculous, in my opinion. By miraculous, I mean she didn't crash. She didn't take Bubba with her.
Yeah, she managed to beat some of the best in the business. Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson. If your name's Kyle, she was going to finish ahead of you today.
Oh yeah, she was head hunting Kyle's for sure.
She even beat the host of our.
Mm-hmm. One hoe to another. I know that there was some shenanigans early on in the race too. There was a couple of crashes, some spin outs too. Like even on I think it was on the first lap. Even there was like a big spin out, and then there was a crash shortly thereafter. I know Larson got caught up in it. He actually was part of the larger crash. Not
Kyle
that
Busch
he crashed, but
Kyle Busch spun out, and then he took out Larson and someone else. It was just like a weird spin. It was when I think it was right after they put the rain tires on. They put the rain tires on. I don't know if he was like breaking into the corner and spun out, and then it was this weird like ping pong ball kind of type deal where They ended up taking out a couple extra people, but yeah, it's kind of weird. It was right in the beginning of the race.
Well, yeah, the real true history on Father's Day, right? Keep in mind, was Catherine Legge in NASCAR. That's what all the fathers really wanted to see. They want, if anything, we're hoping that they make like an offshoot of NASCAR that's just women in bras racing. Why do they always do that to sports? Maybe not every sport, but mainly I guess they've just done that with like football, and then like wrestling has definitely become that. But you ever see that football? That
Oh
league?
yeah,
It's
like the
just
like the
just
Seattle
softcore
Mist.
porn.
Yeah, like the Seattle Mist stuff like that. They got the lingerie football leagues and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lingerie football league. Yeah, if Leggy really wants to move up the ranks, I think she's got to
show her
show a little
leggings.
more. Yeah, show some more legs. She wants to get a leggy up. She's got to put her leggies up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's just business.
got to
Hey,
spread them
you're
out
in
a
the
bit.
business with the boys. This is a man's world. This is how we operate. Every single one of us too. Every single one of us. We're all that corrupt and sick in the head. So get used to it.
Yeah, we had our good old Jeff Gordon be the Grand Marshal today too.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I don't know if he said ladies and gentlemen start your engines. He might have just said start your engines or so. I don't know if he said
Start your
ladies and
energy.
lady engines.
Start your engines hot, boys. Oops. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I have my suspicions about that guy, but that's fine. It was one thing when he was just flaming, but then he was like the flaming rainbow. Ooh.
Yeah, you can either be a rainbow but you can't be a rainbow and a flamer.
Yeah. You got to pick a side.
Yeah. Otherwise you set off the smoke alarms.
So hot in here, boys. She's 44. And she was racing for like Elf. Yeah, that's like a beauty brand, right? Oh, I gotta go to Instagram to see this crap. Yeah. Elf. Interesting. I don't care enough to to run numbers on that. But yeah, it's interesting. Once again, I'm not clued into exactly why this takes place. Why do some drivers come in and out of the Cup Series? What are they doing? Why do they do that? What's the point? Is it because like they could catch a race and then like make the playoffs somehow, even though they don't race in all the races?
Well, they used to have like road course, like they'd bring in like road course specialists for the road course race sometimes. So sometimes they would either have their own team or they would replace other drivers, stuff like that. They'd come in for these type of races. So, but now with the playoffs too, it's so weird too because now if they win, now have a shot at the playoff stuff. So it's very weird. I just like Ginsburg. He didn't race at all in 2023 till half the season passes, and then he just jumps in the car in a race and wins, and then he makes the playoffs just because he ran that one race. It's just like
Hell yeah.
it's just so weird how they do things now. It's
I think it points to what we've been talking about too. It's just that ease. It's another lever of control. It's another lever of manipulation. You know what I mean? It's just look at NBA. It's like the refs. It's this and that. There's so many different things you can use to control a game. Um, it's just one more thing that it's like an arbitrary thing. Think about like the Seahawks last season. Remember that we talked about this before. You know how they tied, but it had to go down to like points between the matchup. Because it was a tie for the conference or whatever. And it's just like eat that, Seattle fans. You just got to live with that. Sucks to not make the playoffs, and not that they would have done anything, but it's just, just one more lever of manipulation to make sure that all bases are covered.
Yeah, that's just and the way they used to do it too. And it was so weird today too because Ginsburg, he was they said he was sick, and then Bowman was injured too from last week. He had an injury, so he wasn't at 100% either. So Bowman was banged up, and then you had Ginsburg who was sick. I know they used to have like relief drivers, like if you got sick or couldn't finish a race, like they you'd go to pit road and they'd pull you out and they put a different guy in the driver, or if you got injured or something, they'd have someone else replace you or something like that. Or as like a road course race, you'd have like a road course specialist, like a road course ringer would be racing that race. But now, I mean, it's so different with the playoffs and stuff, and how just winning a race, they could be garbage all year and 30 something in points, and then you're going to be, when the playoffs start, you're going to be in a top 10 or in top 12 position just because you won a race or something. It's just the way they have to manipulate things is unbelievable, and screw over all the other people that either had the points but just couldn't win a race, or maybe they just won the one race and just couldn't get a second win or something like that. It's just and even like the way they have the stages. I mean, you had Priest win a stage today, and then Ginsburg won a stage. So the way they got to mix it up with these stages, and just the way everything is to make it more controlled, and uh, just more rigged, just more make it more easy to manipulate it. And that's what you have, like you said, across all sports nowadays. Everything is just overly fixed, overly fake, overly scripted, overly manipulated in every way possible.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that anyone can still be, taken in by sports to actually, because, I'll give people a little bit of slack. For one, like my brother-in-law, I don't mind. I think he's coming around to how rigged the games are. I've never gotten into as deep a conversation with him as we may have in the future. But, I think he has, he definitely, he's one of those fans that understands that there are levers being pulled, and that, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And for me, not to disparage him or anything, it's just like that turn. As soon as I know that, it throw the baby out. The whole bath is out. Everything's gone. Why would I want to watch this crap? What's the point? It's like, but I will, concede just a little bit that it can still be entertaining. These are freak athletes doing freak stuff that is cool to watch. Okay, there you go. And in like watching the circus, if you're a fan of the circus and like the crazy things people can do, I'll give you that part of sports. But to sit there and get upset or overly gleeful at your team, quote unquote, winning or losing, we got to be over that in this in current year. We all got to get over that crap. And and like, I mean, just the whole idea of your team. It's just, come on, yo, who's got time for this anymore? I work with people like this that are still like my age or around my age, and they're just still so wrapped up. Bro, did you see that? I had people, with the stupid playoffs, you have, Halliburton doing all sorts of game winners because it's so boring that you have to have like exciting finishes to make it worth watching. Who gives a crap about the Thunder and the Pacers? Nobody cares about which team wins that. But in the midst of it all, you have, Halliburton hitting crazy shots. I mean, he had that magnet shot that, shot up 15 feet into the air off the rim and goes right down in a crunch time. Like, guys, crunch the numbers in your head. What are the odds that could ever happen, let alone in a huge game with like down to the wire? When does that happen? That can't happen. If you see that happen, you should be upset. Even if you're a fan of that team, you should be like, what the fuck? What was that? That's like impossible. That what's the it wouldn't make me feel anyway. It's bad enough people believe in this garbage, but you know, when they get overhyped one way or another about it, it's and you know, I the people that do you know, I'm sure if you shine, not no one's perfect, obviously. Everybody's got problems, everybody's got things that they can work on. But I think that there might be a ratio with the people that are enamored with these things. And if you were to put a magnifying glass on their portfolio that of their life right now, I bet you'd find a bunch of red asterisks everywhere that are, you know, need to be worked on ASAP, need to be worked on ASAP, need to be worked on ASAP, need to be worked on ASAP. Sports, just sports is like pouring out of the portfolio. That's all they want to do and all they want to think about. But they have all these other things that should be higher on their priorities, and that's my main reason why. It's because I think people are missing out on just like the life aspect by following these stat driven things anyway. Like never, even if you found out they were all real, like that's where I'm at now. Like even if they were all legit, okay, go play them. Like stop. Why do you watch them so avidly?
Yeah, I mean, and that was the point I always had too. It's like when I, like I said, when I was, I was a kid and I would watch, like NASCAR, wrestling, football, stuff like that. And I could see how, I seen how fake and phony it was even back then, but it wasn't like always just like, I wanted to, I'd be doing like wrestling moves on the trampoline. I'd be, be doing stuff like that. I'd be throwing the football around. We'd have football games, I'd be, I'd play with my NASCARs, my toys, or I'd have, I'd be playing the video games, or I'd be like, actually wanting to like drive and race, stuff like that. It was like, it wasn't all just about the sport or the sports aspect of it. It was more about, it was more like actually motivational, inspiring at the time. I mean, it was it was a different time, but now it's all about the sport. But now people don't, now we're living in a time where people don't, like we said, they don't come together. They don't play outside no more. They don't actually play the sports. Um, or they, maybe they're caught up in either like the aspect of the sports, but they don't, or they're thinking that maybe that they have a chance of actually making they're all caught up in it. They want to, be that, but it's like they don't have the right name, the right genetics, the right gematria. They're not even going to be in the league, so they don't understand the world. So yeah, there's a lot of angles when it comes to things like that, how it just misshapes and misforms people's reality. And it's people always, they're always like, oh, you gotta go to you gotta be in the sports, that's where the money is. But yeah, I mean, you're not gonna, how you really going to make it? I mean, like I said, you got to have the right gematria, you got to have the right names, you got to have the right numbers, you got to have the right genetics, you got to have the right family. There's a lot to it that people don't tell you. They don't point it out to you. They don't explain all this stuff. They just lead you the ropes. They show you it, and they either, they think, oh well, he likes this, or she likes that, or whatever. But there's so much more to it than what meets the eye. And like I said too, yeah, I mean, there's people should be more out just trying to indulge in it themselves, trying to, either learn it, practice it, play it, do stuff, actually, be active with it, instead of just kind of living the fantasy world, fantasy realm about it, where what they actually would like to do, instead of just, go out and throw the football around, go out and play catch, go just do basic things like that. It's a lot more fun than sitting inside the house or dreaming about it or whatever. Just there's so many things you can do, and that's what most people are missing today. They're missing the basic element, things that at least I had in my childhood not long ago.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And I'll even piggyback off of that too to kind of reinforce what I'm saying is that I'll actually concede more to the people who Like even if that was you and you had aspirations to do so and you like trained and did stuff to do so, at least something positive came out of that. I'm talking about these
Right.
vicarious people who lived through the game, who could never they could never, maybe they had a decent jump shot in high school or something, but that's about it. I'm talking about myself here too now. But yeah, there's the vicarious living at ages that make no sense, with when their list of priorities should be so packed with um a lot more personal responsibility and responsibility for their families and things like that. So I don't know, it's hard for me to sign off on what I see as the dominated by male mindset of give into your emotions for for a sport XYZ, whatever sport you're into, or sports you're into, how much emotion and passion and time and effort goes into those things, that you put a half of that time, effort, emotion and passion into something that builds you up, dude, you're cooking. You're making strides in something, and instead it's just to me it's just so much wasted potential when you see it. And it's never it never manifests in the right way too. How do you manifest that kind of energy for good? What say your team wins and you celebrate. Okay, they're not bringing the cup home for you to sleep with once. It's not like everybody gets to touch have the cup for a day. And what's interesting, I was thinking about I talk about basketball all the time because it plays into the sport thing so much. But I would actually rather watch if somehow they just got a bunch of normies to play the same sports, like have refs and all the same rules. So it's like it's a legit game, but just have a bunch of random people playing it and just making mistakes, and like just seeing how a bunch of normal people would do it. That honestly would be more entertaining to me, at least in my head. Uh, but yeah,
I agree.
it
That would be a lot more. That'd be a lot more interesting. That'd be a lot more fun to watch. Just watch regular people do it. Just like because it would be more. You didn't. You really wouldn't know what you were gonna get either. It'd be a lot more interesting to watch. It'd be a lot more fun.
unpredictable.
Yep.
Well, before I forget too, and before we get into like our larger topic at hand, which is I think we're about to slide into, I did want to show you something I've almost forgot, but this thing has been flying around my house for the past week or so, super low. This thing is louder than a mother. And when you are, before let me set this up a little bit. When you are, where I'm at, and I think where you're kind of at too, you don't have a lot of trust for government, say, and the military and things of that nature. And so, what I tell my kids all the time is not to be fearful, to put them in fear either. It's just what I explain to them is like, you have these flyovers of like jets and helicopters and stuff like that. How are we supposed to know if that's like a good thing, a neutral thing, or the end? How would you know? You know what I mean? How would you know that that's not like the start right there of something terrible on your country, or something, anything? It's just so weird to me that jets and military are able to fly over rural houses and things of that nature. That's always peeved me, and I feel the same way even about like commercial planes. I think that the world should be structured in a way that they don't fly over residential or rural housings. Because anyway,
Yeah, I've had to
but
deal
yeah,
with that everywhere I've lived. Even in Wisconsin, they'd fly jets. Or I remember like there'd be like the Packer game going on, and the fucking jets would fly literally right over my house. I'm literally 13 miles from the stadium in Swamico, a little town. They'd fly right over the top. I know when I lived in Wyoming, I lived by an Air Force base. It was noisy as fuck. I don't live by the Air Force base anymore, but I did kind of live closer to it before I moved. But here and there, I mean, there's still like there'll be a big ass fucking noisy plane that's flying over my head at night. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, or during the day. So yeah, it always is. It's just like there's that level where you don't know. It's like, why does this have to? Why is this over the top of me? Why does this have to follow me around? Why can't it go its own place and fly around or do something? Why has it got to be over my head all the time? It does leave that nasty residue in your head.
I'm building a foundation for a shed out in my yard above my driveway, and this chunky bastard is flying over insanely low and just doing loops back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm just like, yo, what do you guys want? I'm about to go get the laser pointer, dude. I don't
Yeah.
care. But no, not really. But dude, it's insane. It's insane. This thing is massive. It is the loudest thing ever. It's so crazy. The fact that they can just fly these over your house like 100 feet above your house. Like they're gonna land here. It's crazy. But yeah, this is the exact one that flies over our house.
That's a big bitch.
It's been crazy. I don't know. Leave it in the comments if you guys have had anything similar to this. And you look up or you go on to Reddit and they're just, oh, there's an Air Force base near you. There's a military base near you. They're doing exercises. They're doing this and that. It's just like, I don't give a rat's dick. Get away from above my house. There's enough places in this world that don't have people living there. It's just like sucks to suck. How come you can't do this on your military base? Why do you got to do this above residential houses unless without the people knowing what's going on? It'd be one thing if somehow we knew what was going on or like we knew that, but no, they just get to indiscriminately do it, and that's what really annoys me. But yeah, just thought I'd bring that up, see if anyone else has had any run-ins with that fat boy, that double trouble machine. But yeah, where to start? I know it's funny because the NASCAR race actually happens to be one of the better lead-ins for our topic here, with it being in Mexico, and it kind of highlighting, not really highlighting it. In fact, it's kind of the opposite of highlighting, isn't it? It's kind of like drawing attention away as if everything's fine, but at the same time, it is, it's using the two category, America and Mexico. They're they're juxtapositioning them to in all sorts of different ways. And but we'll talk about the what's been percolating in the last week or so with these quote unquote ice raids. And some people say they're ice raids, some people say they're what are they, like federal marshals or something like that, and a lot of them aren't even ICE that are doing it right now. They do most of the border stuff, and right now it's like federal something. Anyway, well, we can look into it if we get into that mode, but for now we'll just talk about it. What are you noticing and seeing about this? Because like you said, I think it just started moving into your neck of the woods, and just a couple days ago we finally had Portland react. And Portland's a pretty quick to react with these retarded movements, i.e. Antifa and crap.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, I'm 39 miles to Mount Rainier, so I don't Seattle, close to an hour away. Yeah, I know there's stuff that was going on in Seattle. People were at the protest. I know that. There was, especially yesterday with the no kings and stuff. Yeah, I mean, nothing really around here. I know there was a bigger protest out in actually Spokane where there was curfews and stuff. That type of deal out. It was actually worse out in Spokane, which I thought was weird, but yeah, nothing really out here. And it seems like it's more of like in the South. It's more of a Southern thing, which makes sense because it's like regarding like Mexico and Mexican stuff like that. So seems like it's more kind of like California and like Texas. I know they were pretty bad around like Austin and Dallas, and then you had um, some in like Florida. So like all the Florida was pretty bad. Like the southern states, which is to be expected. The South, um, but kind of just about every state's kind of experiencing some of it somewhere at some point. Um, yeah, I mean it's like why and it's there's so much to say about it in so many ways, but for me it's like why not why aren't we just going to Washington D.C. and protesting and using our Second Amendment to go out there. Why aren't we doing that? And why does this have to be why just this? Why aren't we protesting the quality of life, the cost of living, um those type of things, these fires that are going on right now, the smoke, there's so many things to be protesting about, that these things they drown out the sound of, they drown out the sound of these fires, the smoke, the cost of living, uh the financial situation, the quality of life, all these things are just put on mute. And with this, with these, and then you, of course, you have all the stuff that comes with it, all the destruction and stuff that just ends up just costing us more money. Just like uh Trump's no show parade yesterday, that wasn't anything, that costed us a bunch of money. uh and then you have these that just cost us a bunch of money, when it's why aren't we tearing down, destroying Washington D.C.? Why aren't we attacking that? Why aren't we going after the government? It's got to be but then they're kind of flanking out the situation too, with this, saying, like the Minnesota, whatever that was there in Minnesota, whoever that was that got killed, the lawmakers or government people, whatever.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of had that element too, somewhat. And that it also is to be expected too. I mean, like what I've said before about like the Trump situation with the fake assassinations. Uh, these are the types of things that you're going to start hearing and seeing a lot more of. Not just Trump, but other people. And this is another example of that. And they're now going on in Minnesota with that. So uh, you have a lot of things coming to a head. I mean, and like I said too, I mean, there's no way, right now with what they're doing. I mean, um, there's no way we're getting, between now and July 4th, there's going to be a major event. They're going to do something huge before the 4th of July, to really get things rolling. And right now they're just, just gauging people, firing them up. Because like I said, people are, losing their jobs. People are, broke, homeless, living in their cars. Um, and there's just so much going on. And then you got, AI taking over. And then you got, with this Trump parade, of course, wasted more money, scam with a lot of money for the stupid parade, and you got people mad about that. And you got the anti-Trumpers going, so now they're riled up about it. So you got a lot of angles of attack with this, um, and then you just of course bringing up the race, Mexicans in Mexico, and then all these different races, black people or Asians, and then you got the war that's escalating, World War III that's escalating on the horizon, and um with all that and everything, um not to mention you got Trump, who's 79, and like Ukraine is 79, tariffs equals 79, William Nirvana 79. So um all that's no coincidence that they got all that lined up too with all this. So yeah, there's a lot to all this. And even it's hard to say what is we haven't seen any like power outages around here. I know a lot of places there have been, but it seems like a lot of things right now are kind of happening more in the south. But it's hard to say, what we'll see here, even in like kind of the outskirts area that I'm in or you're in, what exactly is on the brink of happening. Obviously they're getting ready for something huge, something major, this summer into this winter. And it all goes back to what we've been saying. They got to find a way, find an excuse to, you know, say why, this money system and why it's got to go, and why why we got hacked and why the system went down and all this stuff. So now the war drums are beating, and you got tensions rising with other people, and they're trying to divert the energy of other things. So there's a lot of things at play and at work right now, and they're really just getting they're just really getting the ball rolling. But I mean, we're really seeing the official start of just the end in general. I mean, it's just with everything right now, and it's just the way they're trying to disperse it by getting people. And again, I don't know how bad it really is. I think LA is the worst area with these so far. I know New York, other places that there are, but I don't know how bad like other people's areas are and what's exactly going on. But I'm sure who knows. But I'm sure if we get this could be brewing up for an attack here on America, which will obviously probably be coming here in the next couple of weeks. Either power outages or grid going down, banks hit, that type of thing. When they really start, I believe this is another test run to see how much they can rile people up to see where people are at. Because like I said, there are so many people that are broke and down and out and homeless and living in their cars and lost their jobs, and AI is taking over. So you have so many people just down and out as it is, and all the other things going on as well. So it's a perfect way to you know get people riled up and divert energies around and just kind of play with people for the moment.
I mean, yeah, and then there's like the larger things at play too, at least globally. I'll use that word with the parentheses there, or quotations. But you have the Iran and Israel trading missiles, and they're saying that Iran is cracking the dome. They're sending so many missiles through that they're not able to stop them all, and they're hitting major points in Israel. So it's like, how much of Israel has to be destroyed, or how much of Israel has to be hit before America is forced into war politically, because there are basically our brother or sister country. If people don't know that, then they should look into it. And I'm not even sitting here saying Jewish, this and that. You guys can figure all that stuff out for yourself. You're going to have to go down some pretty lofty, some pretty vast rabbit holes to come out of that with any kind of relative certainty about our history, when it comes to the wars, especially the world wars, and the types of people and the peoples that were involved in those wars, and what sides were forged and what sides they were on. And I think it's safe to say that we both realize that the sides are manufactured, and yeah, they're real. There are real people on those different sides, but um, for the most part, it's a top down endeavor, and they need people wrapped up in the problems of our times in order to you know carry out the mission that they want to get done. They need the chaff to fall in line. And unfortunately, on what's so crazy too is it's like people don't even know what propaganda is. It's like a channel like ours could be propaganda. Like, I'm serious. Like, there's probably smaller channels than ours that are just online to just be propaganda for the people that they find or that find them. Boom, it works for that. There's so much oversaturation of propaganda that you don't know what is and what's not, because you'll come across channels that are not all that great. And it's hard to say. It maybe to me it's not hard to say, but for the average person, I can understand it'd be hard to, rather than just be paranoid about every little thing they watch. Rather than that, they'll look at a channel that's like small and is talking about a specific subject, and they'll say, oh, this is a real person. This person is genuine in some form or fashion. And I think that's a slippery slope. I don't think it takes that much of a following at all to I don't think it takes a following at all to start a propaganda network. And I have a hard time believing there's that many people that are just gearing up to spew things that everyone else is saying. It's like we come on here and we bring, the goal for us is to bring a uniqueness to it. Maybe not unique to us, but to us it's not unique because it's just us telling you what it is for us. But it should be unique to most other people, because most other people, 99.9999999% aren't us. So we're not just sitting here spewing what CNN says. We're not spewing what Fox says, but there's so many channels that do, speak matter of factly about things that they couldn't possibly know. I'll talk matter of factly about things I don't know too. But in general, history will be kind to me, because the things that I am pessimistic about, i.e., jabs and all sorts of things of those nature, masks and all those things. Oh, look what's happened. It didn't take that far into the future to find out that all those things were right. Everything I was saying back then was fully correct. And not that I'm some soothsayer and I can see the future. No, it was majorly obvious, guys. These things they do to us are at some level obvious to people that have their faculties and their wits about them. If you're easily manipulatable and if you're constantly in that state of being of, I've talked about it before, the psychology of our rulers. They know, they have indexed our behaviors. They know what makes us tick. And so it's easy for them to sway a crowd. But and we talk about this as well. It's just, it makes us a shining beacon in a sea of darkness, because you'll have the whole crowd moving right and we'll be the only ones standing still or going left. You know what I mean? We're the only ones. We're just like, what the hell is everybody doing? And it's not like we're some superheroes or we think we're some crazy like chosen prophets of the world. It's just everybody else makes us look sane. I'm kind of wild. In fact, I consider myself a little bit goofy. I have some crazy takes sometimes. I'm pretty brash with my ideas. And I share enough normal things with everybody else too. I'm a normal person. It's just when people are so crazy, a normal person looks like a fucking prophet.
Yeah, and it's it's no different than it's like when you turn on the TV. It's it's you hear the same thing on every channel. Um and you have so much like you said, you got so much propaganda coming from the TV, coming from other YouTube stuff like that. And then people that, hear our channel or something like us. And there's so many people right now that, I mean, it's obvious. You see a lot of people right now that are, that have channels, too, and if they're talking anything um, decently close to the truth, they're being obviously suppressed and not getting a lot of views. Um, so so the ones that really are, it really is the propaganda that's really getting out there. It's being pushed where you're getting the channels that get all the views that are able to, spew the garbage and or maybe tell you half truths at best or somewhat truths, but get you covered in with the lies and stuff, or or people that are still operating in the left right blue red paradigm or something like that. I mean, there's so few people that actually know what really is going on, and that's the problem. I mean, there's so many people. It's like, and you got people. It's like they don't want to hear the news. They don't want to hear what's going on. They don't want to, because it's annoying and they don't want to deal with it. And I totally get that, understand that, because there's so many people that do want it, and there's other people that do want to get involved and do want to figure things, but they don't know what's really going on, and they're getting caught up. They're getting lost in the sauce. They're getting caught up, lost in the propaganda, and that's where most people are at. They're lost in the sauce. They're lost in the propaganda. They don't know exactly what's going on. They don't have enough information. That's unfortunately where most people are. They're lost between the lines, and that's why you have all these things happening right now that are going on, and you have a lot of skewed views right now. You have a lot of people that like I said, channels that might be getting a lot of views, that they're putting out something, but they're only telling you so much truth. There's so much facts, and maybe one video is more truths and facts, and then another video it's like, they're trying to take a side, take a role, or try and get more lies. And there's very few people who are actually trying to legitly figure something out. It's a lot of people talking with their egos. It's a lot of people talking with just their ego, and they're not really trying to either figure things out or come at something from an open-minded perspective. And I think that's the biggest problem we're facing, is a lot of people aren't open-minded to see what's really going on. And like I said, I mean, it's all everything's coming to a head right now. I mean, this summer it's going to be an ugly summer, and like I said, I mean, there's so many things going on right now. I mean, I've been hearing mixed reports. Things like animals are fleeing, like Mount St. Helens and stuff. I've been hearing things like they're trying to get that to go off. Mount St. Helens or Mount Rainier, or a big earthquake out here. There's so much for that right now. They're trying to get for July. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, the new Madrid could go off. I mean, they got so much things that they can pull. I've been hearing things about Yellowstone. There's been earthquakes in Idaho, I know, constantly. Yellowstone's been having some things go on. So there's stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're just
there's
fucking surrounded by that shit.
yeah, power outages. I haven't had anything out here, but I know a lot of people have had power outage problems. A lot of people in the South have been dealing with that, but power outages, things like that. So, yeah, I mean, they very well, might be getting ready to trigger a massive, well, not natural disaster, but what they want you to believe is a natural disaster, of course, and cover it up.
Disaster.
Yeah, unnatural disaster, and cover that up. So, and then you got, like I said, the war aspect. Us getting attacked, and something happens here, and then oh well, people don't want people to go fight over there. They don't want to get America. Well, people will when they set up the event, and they seemingly are attacking here. That's going to get people riled up and want to go over there and fight when stuff actually starts happening here and kicking off here. So, yeah, you have a lot of different things taking place right now, and that's the thing. I mean, this is the time for people to really start being open-minded about things, and looking into things just from a neutral perspective, and stop trying to take a side in something, because that's where most people are going to get lost and caught up in the division from the TV or other sources of information, from what they're trying to push right now, because it's literally coming from every angle right now. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, what it will be. I know they've been talking about like a solar flare too, like solar flares. I know like summer's getting ready to start. I mean, we were having, like I said, 90s. Now it's down in like the 60s, 70s. It's been cold, it's been gray. So, are they getting ready to launch? Or say the sun has done something, they could very well go that way, blame it on the sun. There's so many outlets right now for things. And then of course, with the race uh, riot type deals you have now, it's more division, more deflection, blame this person, blame that person, divert the energy here, divert it there. So you're seeing it's just a game of energy right now. They're just passing it all around, and then wherever it's going to land is wherever it's going to land, and that's where the event's going to pop off here very soon.
Yeah, and you bring up great points that these things are all, there's so much that's like out of our control, at least from where we're at as a people right this minute. We're not in any position to challenge these authorities right now, to stop these things from happening. So let's take those things off the table. We're not going to be able to stop our grid from going down. We don't own the grid. We're not going to be able to stop a tornado or hurricane, these types of things. But look at what we are caught up with. And you wonder why we can't ever get to a place where we can challenge these powers that rule over us. Is because we're stuck down here in monkey brain territory. And people so caught up with race that, I mean, we've talked about it so many times, but this is one of those things. And I just had my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, over just yesterday, and we got into a pretty good discussion. And me and my sister get into semi heated discussions. We still appreciate each other at the end of the day. We just have very different, we have some, not very different, but we have some things that we disagree on, pretty, not even disagree, just have different ideas about. And I think you've gotten to know me well enough to understand my stance on a lot of these things that take hold of the minds of the people. And right now, she's caught up in a few different things, and I'm not going to sit here and say that she's wrong. I'm not any arbiter of it. I don't know the exact amount of right and not real or fake things that go on in the day to day when it comes to the things such as these riots, or another thing she's been pretty stout about is BLM and things of that nature. Not to the extent that some people go, but she's vocal about it at least. And things of that nature. And like I was saying, and I think you understand my stance, that it's just, in my opinion, I think you just cutting all of that out. It's one thing to have like a commentary on it, but it's a whole nother to be able to get worked up about it one way or another, and allow it to affect you mentally. And mentally really is physically, because you can think about giving yourself a headache and give yourself a headache. That's the body functions on pulses from impulses and brain waves. So you put a bunch of negativity in your brain, what do you think the side effects are going to be on your body? So mental is physical too. And I think that's pretty obvious too. Look at 2020 as a grand example. Look at the people that have come out of that. Are they like ripped and just like ready to take on the world? No, they're shriveled versions of what a human should be, mentally and physically. So I think the mental and physical go hand in hand at the very least. But I do think mental is, they make a delineation between mental and physical. But I really think it's a smaller separation than it should be. I think they're very similar, in the same way that like mental can affect, or physical can affect your mental. It's the exact same thing in my opinion. I think it's just as prevalent both ways, but we're not there yet as a society to understand that we should be looking inward on almost everything. We should know what the hell our brains do all the way by now. We should know, enough to where the common person understands how to not be manipulated. Because just think about it this way: in a world where most people can't be manipulated, what good would it be to be a manipulator? That's where I'm coming from. It's just like, yeah, there's riots. Yeah, we could do some things. Yeah, we could storm this and storm that. And I'm down to do some form of that. The problem is I'm not going to get involved with something that I don't know. I'm not going to be with the January Sixers. It's like that shit was a psyop from the if I was there that day, I'd have been like, yo, what the hell is that? Yo, what the hell is that? It's like, I want to be there, like, yeah, this is all about us. We're doing it. And it's just like, I'm too astute on the game at this point to be fooled in that way. But it's not to say that I'm adverse to taking it to them. I'm not. We talk about this all the time. I'm, you know, I have my family. Unfortunately, I can't. I it's like pulling me both ways to, but I have the call, which I like to call it, is like the calling. I've had that calling forever, and I'm urging people to pick up, and act on that calling that they know they have, and they hear it haunting them, and they know that there's something greater they're supposed to be doing. Please reach out for that and figure that out. But part of that is my family. I've made, my calling is, I think, kind of torn in both ways at this point. But I still have that part of me that wants to pack up and yeah, let's go take it to them. Let's go do it. Whatever happens, happens type of mentality. I'm not going to go do it with BLM though. I'm not going to go do it with Antifa. So it's just like, yeah, I'm not going to get caught up in this garbage. But yeah, it's for things that we can control and have control over. I think we need to boil those things down to a more personal level. And like I was saying, we don't even know how our brains function. There's people that do know how the full brains function, and they can take advantage of you real quick, and they do. But I think on average, the best course of action, based on the fact that it doesn't look like we're ever going to get the type of army and the type of militarized, like, marching orders out of the people that we have. It doesn't ever look like we're going to come together. Not saying it's impossible, and I'm not trying to be just a full pessimist here. I'm just saying, okay, let's go with what we know. This doesn't look like it's going to work anytime soon, that's for sure. Or maybe it would, but something's got to happen, and it's probably not going to be pretty. Or we can get our average intellect up. We can get our average knowledge up about how the world works and how the people who run the world run it. And if you're not easily manipulated, the onus to be a manipulator is going to falter. And a lot of the manipulators in this world aren't part of the Jesuits. They're not Catholic Church. They're not CIA. They're just people that know how to scam people. Imagine if those people had no reason to do that because the scams don't work anymore. And that's on a personal level. Apply that to what happens, that things that are out of your, not necessarily that are out of your hands. You're not going to get scammed by the TV anymore. You're not going to get fooled by the door-to-door politician bullshit. You're not going to be fooled by all of this crap. And that's your opt-out.
Yeah, and it's like that's the point I'm at too with people. It's just like because there's so many people. It's like there people are and then you got people that are at the protest, and it's like okay, you're willing to do something, but again, it's like I said, when is it to the point where we're actually going to Washington D.C.? We're actually using our Second Amendment. We're going to Washington D.C. We're going to the government. We're attacking these people. We're going after these people. We're actually, um, and it's just you got so much division right now with all this. You got, it really feels it more so feels like it's like Black Lives Matter, point two or type two or something. It's what it really feels like to me. It's like it might as well be Antifa again, this stuff, because it's again, we're not what are we really getting done with it? We're just costing ourselves more money, just like the no show retarded parade yesterday where no one showed up, nothing happened. It just cost us a bunch of money. It was a big waste. And so you have all this that just keeps cycling. And I mean, we've already had just so much stuff just happened recently and lately. You've had um so many psyops just come and go. I mean, you had the black fatigue and all that, and now it's Mexicans, now it's Mexico, and Now you got the war, you got this over here, and then it's this person, and it's that person, and there's all this deflection going on right now, and that's why it really is such a dangerous time, because you just don't know what they're gonna do and who they're gonna blame next, and where they're gonna send all this energy. I mean, and that's what I really believe they're doing now. They're running a test right now. They're testing this. They're seeing what people will do, where people are at. Because like I said, I mean, people. It's just I feel like there should be enough people that are fed up, but there's people that are, but there's still not enough people that truly really are, that too many people are just wanting and clinging to the system, and they're holding on to something that's just not even there anymore. I mean, there's just, in so many ways, there's for so many things, there's nothing to fight for. I mean, there's so many things that need to come crashing down. They need to be overhauled. They need to be rebuilt, redone, restarted. You got people that are clinging to a garbage currency that's on its way out the door, that we have to get this figured out and overhauled, um and all this stuff. And that's why, with the future that's coming, I mean, it's like, uh this, like I said, the rise in people living in their cars, living in a storage unit. You got all these people, uh it's like they should be angry and frustrated at the system, and hate the system, because the system is this bad to them. I mean, that's what you have. I mean, you have uh all these people getting beaten down by the system, but yet they still want to fight for the system. They still want to keep the system up there, because they're still good enough. But it's like, at what point do you just see how bad you really got it? People, they've normalized a shitty life. They've normalized a shitty world with all this garbage, and they've got people to go along with it and just accept it and think it's normal. And this, uh, just oh well, it's just, that's just, you just got to work. You just got to work harder. You got to lose your job because of AI, because AI is taking over, and that's what you just got to do. And they've just normalized this stupid world and all the stupidity. And you got all these people that just want to keep going along to get along to deal with all this. And then, and that's why, in the near future, I mean, it's going to be to the point where, you got AI taking over, but it's going to come down to people in the next 5 years or so, or 5 to 10 years, people that, if you don't, figure out AI and master AI, and, have your business or money coming off of whatever you're using and creating with AI. I mean, you're not even able to stay afloat. I mean, 9 out of 10 people aren't even going to make it. I mean, that alone right there should get the revolution spark. I mean, 9 out of 10 people right now aren't even going to make it. I mean, they don't even stand a chance going forward in the future. And all these people that think that, they're just going to rush over and get a trade or go to trades or something. I mean, that's not going to work or save you either, because what happens is the market becomes oversaturated. Wherever you go, the market becomes oversaturated, and it doesn't lead you or get you anywhere. Everyone just goes to one spot, and that screws you over too. That's what I mean. That people got to see things for what they truly are, and find a way to come together to fight back against the system. And that's, right now, it's not happening, because you got so many people that are, taking sides. You got the red versus blue. You got people blaming liberals, Democrats. And then you got other people that, they're blaming blacks or Mexicans, or this or that. And you got people, they're mad because, these people are mad because these people are mad about our country, and the way things are, and they're not happy. So you have all these uh, mixed dialogues together. And then you have, like I said, you got the war going on right now. You got, uh, this looming depression. You got all these other distractions. And then you just have all this mix of emotions. I mean, we're just talking about black fatigue, and all this black people stuff. Now it's the Mexicans, and then it's the Middle East, and it's Iran, it's Iraq, it's this, it's that. So yeah, I mean, and then, all the, like I said, you had the no kings thing yesterday. People against Trump and all that. And the problem is, we're not actually going after, the government, the capitals, people that are in charge. We're not we're not going to Washington D.C. But like I said, then that's why they had to get that Minnesota thing going in there too. And that's what I believe will also be the next step in this whole thing is you're going to see more of that, with these like the fake assassination, these people up
Mhm.
top supposedly getting removed or killed or shot or whatever. You're going to see more stories like this to rile people up and spark things too. I mean, it's coming from every angle right now. That's the thing. It's coming from every angle.
Also, with that, I see when I hear stories like that, what that to me tells me is that they want sooner than later the ability to enact martial law. And just
Yep.
think about it. Martial law as a like idea should force a revolution. There should be enough people that would never put up with that. That if your government were to say martial law, it might as well be saying we're going to war with you because that's what should happen. But it won't happen if you have this base of people that think, oh, people are being killed though. People are going crazy and they are killing innocent people. So, maybe we should just enact curfews and do this and that. I don't want, these things to be happening. And so it'll pacify enough people to where you won't have it's just the other thing about it is too, if you were going to have some sort of army, like think about the more well armed and the well trained even people, they're going to be the most pacified when things pop off. I'm not even joking you. They, when something comes knocking, unless it's I think I think you'll find that like the right side, the Republicans, the conservatives, they'll be the most pacified. They're always the quickest to say like, "Oh, we got the guns, we got this and that, blah blah blah." And I
Yep.
do think that is true to an extent, but they're on the side of military. They're on the side of martial law. So they
Yep.
won't fight it when it happens and then it's just going to be and in my opinion, I'm not counting anybody out. I'll take a reformed Trumper right now. I'll take a reformed Bidener right now. We need people to wake the fuck up. They need to stop playing this garbage because when it pops off, it doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care what you put on your ballot. It's never did. Not once. It's not about that. Nothing that is going on is about that. You are living out staged pervasive military maneuvers. These are, war room tactics on the people. These things are not just organic. And that was a lot of what I couldn't get through to my sister either. It's just like these things are not organic. This is not just like, oh, we got a bunch of people and we're going to go out and protest. Yeah, a lot of people probably did go out and protest that are just people. But who were the ones that were handing out the HEPA gas masks? You know what I mean? Or gas masks. Who was organizing that? I saw porta potties and stuff out there. Who was renting porta potties?
Right.
Normies? Normies were doing that? No, they weren't. So there's a concerted effort here and to get these things to pop off. And when you get civil unrest, you have to understand. I'm not saying don't do anything. That's another part it was hard to convey because I'm not sitting here saying, oh no, don't do anything. You're going to make it worse for everybody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a time. I think there's a time and a place, and to me, if something were to pop off tomorrow that is real, I think there'd be a way to figure out that it is real. And the things that I'm seeing, they're planned. Not to mention the gematria and the dates and the things. What it was, the trooping the color in UK on the day of the presidential parade, which was popping off the No King's Day. Come on now, you have America doing No King's Day riots on the sitting king's birthday, basically. Meanwhile, you have Britain doing their ritualistic military dance over there. It's just like these things are so they're so beyond us that it's honestly we need to figure this crap out in order to make a concerted effort. And it'd be one thing, I think the real revolution is going to be a lot more quiet at first, because it's going to take a semblance of anonymity and some sort of moving slow and steady and in the shadows, as to not make it apparent to the matrix where we are and what we're doing. And a lot of people think that's TikTok. A lot of people think TikTok is that is what that is. It is the silent underground revolution. It's like, bitch, that shit's online. It's on your computer. That's tracked on your phone. You dipshit. It's like you're pinging what you're doing. You're yelling. I mean, God, I don't know. To me, it's so rough living in a time like this where the amount of uncertainty is at an all-time high. And with that, people need to, I think, realize how uncertain everything is and shore up the things in their own life. They need to work on shoring up the things in their own life. There's no chance. There's no chance for a McDonald's fatty right now. You know what I'm saying? There's no chance for the people that still think like Disney is what they should be thinking about and doing and like obsessing over sports. You're getting to the point where there's almost going to be no chance for you. When the thing pops off, you're going to be so gone that you're not going to understand anything that's going on. You're not going to understand what your role is, what you need to be doing, what you really are. You're not going to have that inner knowing to understand what the hell is happening outward. And that people are so pacified with the stupidest shit nowadays. Race, like you've mentioned multiple times, this whole black fatigue thing. We mentioned it. We talked about it, I think, in over two episodes recently. And there's more to talk about because it really is a joke. It's a joke. One of the most prevalent things I've seen on the internet is black people, pro ICE. You know what I'm saying? Like they're saying, get them out of here. We never liked Mexicans anyway. It's just like you have so many people caught up in this racism ideal when the people that they would stick their neck out and defend are just as or more racist on average. It's just racist and racism. We need to get that out. You can have anger towards somebody, but make it personal. It's a personal reason why you're angry with them, not their skin color. Who the fuck cares? I was just I mentioned this yesterday. Nobody can possibly maybe some rich ass people, they got their test tube babies. Okay, it's possible. But for the vast majority of everybody on this planet, nobody chose where they popped out of a vagina at, who it was, who their daddy's sperm was. Nobody, not a single person chose that. You cannot affect that. Why would you care about it so much? How could you make that your purpose? It's fucking maddening. But like, it's almost to the point where it's like you have like more intelligent people. I think that's the trap. You have spectrums of intelligence, and you have a trap for the smarter people and you have a trap for the dumber people. You got the Disney, you got the sports, you got the that stupid shit for the dumb people, and you got the like racism, the philosophy behind things, the history for the smart people that want to feel like they're smart. They get caught up in that. And neither one of them are what they are. They're all fucking dumb.
Yeah, and the sad thing about all of this is too, like looking at it from just a neutral perspective. Now the issue is, with like Trump, getting the Marines in there and the military and all, all this stuff. Now this gives them the green light, gives them, the go like anytime we have a problem with you or we don't like you or whatever you're doing and we don't like it, or it's we're just gonna, this is how we're gonna handle it. It's gonna be military, boots on the ground, Marines. We're like you brought up martial law. I mean, it's exactly what this is. I mean, it's and now anytime and every time we just get the Marines in there, we get the military, we just get them on the street, we just bring them right in. Now they're normalizing it, they're putting it in your face, and just how quickly and easily that they did this. Just like back in 2020, like I've said many times, when you had, our own military shooting, rubber bullets back in, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and wherever else that was, shooting at our own citizens. I know there's people that were getting shot with rubber bullets and like beanbags too during this thing too. I know one of like the woman reporters was shot too in the leg with it, but this is what that is. Now this is that excuse for them to, oh, well, now we got to do this. Now we got to do that. So, now it just makes it that much easier for them when anything small, they don't like something, there's anything at all. It just makes it so much easier to put, and it normalizes it too. It's putting it out there. It normalizes it. It makes people go along with it. It gives people a reason to endorse it and want to get behind it. So it's really a nasty, scary thing they're doing right now. And like I said, I mean, they're ramping things up in a way where, it's going to be normalized, like, especially like I said, if there is, war here on American soil, this is, how their ways are going to go about it. Just look at how, like you're talking about the planes and helicopter stuff flying overhead. I mean, this type of stuff. I mean, they have to shove so much of this in your face. I mean, not just, the police militarization as it is, especially now, but actually getting our own military and Marines on the street and just getting them in for any little thing now, whatever it is, and then just keeping them there and moving people around, uh, and especially with this, event that's coming, whatever it's going to be before the 4th of July, this is going to be the next step to really implementing the martial law. And, you already talked about the curfews in a lot of areas and the curfews and stuff we had, back in 2020 and stuff like that. These types of things, this is going to be the near future, what we're going to have to deal with and put up with no matter where you go. And, uh, it's coming to a point where it's like, yeah, this is why you have things like, the real ID and all this stuff, being forced, being pushed out, in 2 more years, because you're going to have, over the course of the next 2 years, you're going to have so many people, um, trying to go to Mexico, trying to leave the country, trying to go other places, and we're probably most likely on a 2 year, uh, at this point, 2 years from now is probably going to be the cutoff point, to the point where you can't even get out of here and leave the country anymore with the way things are going. You're probably about 2 years left to do that. Because we get to, 2028, 2029, 2020, or 2030. We get to that point, it's going to be pretty much game over for the U.S. and wherever we are by that point. And the people that, had to get out of here, were forced out of here. You're going to have, those things come to a head. You're going to have, military directing things here in America, that war with us, and you're going to have the calamity, the fallout, and I believe that's why, the real ID, all that tracking and, all that surveillance is going hand in hand, and why they have these dates and times and things set up. And then just, going into, the fall and next year, and, going into, this, uh, ushering in, economic fallout, depression, whatever. I mean, you're going to have so many desperate people and people that don't have anywhere to go. So, I mean, they're going to be looking for assistance as it is. So, yeah, you have a lot coming together right now, lining up. And like I said, I mean, with the way things are going, I mean, you don't really have a true narrative anywhere. You just kind of have lines across the board. Anything right now, I feel like is possible. Like you said, there's never been more uncertain in more uncertain times. I mean, I can't fathom where we are by the end of the summer. I can't fathom where we are by the end of the year, and where we are 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if we're even still here by that point. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable, and things are happening so fast. I mean, just uh, week after week. I mean, things are just ramping up, and just happening, and you just don't know what angle and what's coming, next. And with what they've supposedly got planned this summer, I won't be surprised if what these are just the miniature mini riot protest right now happening, but I won't be surprised if these truly break out absolutely everywhere and get massively out of hand with a quick event that they can just squander up right now, especially with all the racism and all the divide right now and the way people are picking sides, left, right, blue, red, and up, down, and all this. So they're really playing the playing the strings like I've never seen them play the strings before.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, there's within these next few months, like you said, the end of summer and something, highly looks very much so like they're gearing up for one of these events that we've kind of been focusing in on. They could attack it a bunch of different ways. You could even look at what's happening right now as the beginning, like not to say they haven't done other things, but like a physical start. Um, of course, we talked about martial law and everything like that, and that is, that's on the docket for sure. They've already like talked about it. They've already like openly talked about martial law. So that these things are, like you put it well. I mean, these things are there to, it gives like I say with like court cases all the time, you need to have these things happen to give, what's the word, precedence, to set a precedent. And once that precedent's set, they can, legally they can make their moves, because they go by laws. They're not laws that we write, but they go by their laws, so that they are always have their own backs on everything. And who is going to fight them? It's for the day that anyone ever tries to fight them. It'll be like, yeah, well, we did it legally. You guys agreed to it. You guys signed this, and that, and the third. But you know, yeah, whether or not this is a war type thing, like you're saying, potentially something hitting our soil, or something like an unnatural disaster, or a grid attack, or something of that nature. Of course, we've had predictive programming for that, with the whole um, Capital One banking system collapse, little going down thing, and just like whoops. It's like, okay, what do you mean whoops? Uh, that kind of just faded off into the ether. Nobody cares about that, although that should have been a huge deal. I mean, we could point to 1,000 different things, but as of this current climate, you make very good points that these are leading towards that eventuality that really comes about when we all, you know, when we're all not focused on the right things, and the right, making the right moves for what's to come. And my hope is that enough people are prepared and understand the stakes, because yeah, it's not looking pretty. If you're an observer, as we are, of you know the words that are used and the tones that are set through the news and the media, these things play out eventually. They're not just doing it for no reason. They don't do these things. They don't do nothing for no reason. Excuse my poor English, but they don't do anything for zero reason. There are there are rituals and things that need to take place in order for other things to take place. And we're living out a rather large ritual, and we'll see what that ushers in. But yeah, guys, do feel free to get involved. I mean, this is a widespread topic. I don't know if we have anybody viewing from California, or maybe one of these cities that are, you know, having these things, either the protests happen, or anything else. Um, you know, we need networks like this in order to kind of, it not only just for just to not vent necessarily. I can't think of a better word, but to communication networks. It's just another network of communication that you have to souls and human beings out there that have either different perspectives or different advice, or whatever that may be. But we need to work on getting this rolling, and hit us up in the comments and let's get a network going. I'm thinking about starting a Discord and seeing how many people kind of attaching Zach to it as well. Not to leech off of him, but because I think he would benefit from having a Discord. And I know he doesn't want to run a Discord. I don't even really necessarily want to run a Discord, but I do know how. So I think I could help him with that and also kind of spur my own wants, not like selfish wants or anything, but like, for community purposes. But that's been on my mind. But until then, guys, yeah, get involved. Let us know what your neck of the woods is looking like, what you're thinking about with these months to come. What you're seeing with all these events, whether it's the second coming of the Mexican American War or this black fatigue, which is it's still not gone. It's just it's still pretty prevalent, and that in and of itself kind of leads to another idea of civil war and things of that nature. Uncivil war is what I call it. It's weird that we ever called it civil war. What a weird thing. It's not civil at all. But yeah, get involved. Hit us up on our email if you want to join us for one of these shows. It'd be sick to get like a few people on so we could do like a super show too. In the future, one day, hopefully that happens. But I don't know if you had any last thoughts or ideas or pleas to the community to get involved or whatever you want to say, but I'll let you close us out.
Yeah, it's our last episode of the 30s here. It was 39, 40s next one. And yeah, it's I'd say as for now, we'll probably keep up with these relationship type things. They kind of just seem to be manifesting in our own life anyways in the world, and we just kind of keep rolling with it. Yeah, if anyone, like I said, has anything to add or any suggestions or like I said, I know these protests, riots, or you want to call them, they're kind of going on everywhere. So everywhere someone is kind of involved in some way all over the country. So yeah, if you're out in these or you see these or you're involved, hit us up, let us know what's going on, what it looks like, what you're experiencing. Especially live in the South. I know a lot of it mainly is in the South. We got quite a few that live in the South, but yeah, and just like people want, like I said, get involved or come on or have things to add. This is an important way to look at it too. It's the way we network is it's not just coming together, but also having plans. When the event or the event or whatever does happen, then you got maybe we come together, we have meeting spots. Maybe people got to flee states and you got to find people are scrambling, you got people got to get out, people got to meet up somewhere. Maybe your area gets demolished, or maybe you got to get out of there. You just it's times are so uncertain. I can't imagine what we're gonna have to live through, but just like I said, meetup spots, places to go, resources, kind of what people have to offer, kind of start taking inventory. I mean, now's the time to start doing these things. I mean, because everything's in motion for what's coming, and it'd be nice to have more people, on deck for when situations do emerge that, like we got Zach here in our backyard here in Washington, we're about 2.5 hours apart, so, King Richard's not too far south of us, and then everyone else kind of is in different areas, but, it's important to always, have ideas and ways to connect, and because you never know exactly how things are going to play out and what exactly is going to happen. And, we're all that we have, and we all meet each other, and we have to find a way to, have enough balance in life to get through what's coming. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people aren't really talking about that much right now or thinking about. So I think that's an important aspect. But yeah, I mean, should be an interesting week coming up. It's going into, this is our last episode technically of what they call, I mean, I consider June 1st summer, but June 20th is September 20th. So next episode 40 is going to be our first one of summer technically, and longest day of the year is going to be on the 20th. So maybe that'll be a solar flare type day or something. I don't know. We'll see what they have coming here for the second half of what will be June, and then we'll move into July and August. And yeah, this is crazy. Another month and a half will be August. 2.5 months will be September. So yeah, I expect quite a bit of things to happen in that time, and things to look a lot more different as we get to the end of summertime.
Agree with that. And yeah, I mean, sucks to be just an onlooker in all of this, but yeah, I mean, hopefully, this outcry for community and things of that nature does manifest itself in some way. And like you said, we're able to take better stock of what we have as a community, because it's one thing to do it um, for just you yourself or the ones around you, but you know you're not winning any war by yourself. So we really do need to start thinking about these things and putting them into greater perspective on exactly what we our plans are, and how what it all amounts to, and you put it better than I did. But yeah, without going on too long about that, thank you guys for tuning in, and hopefully you'll be with us next week. Open to any ideas for what to talk about, but more than likely there'll be something that spurs us along on this train that we're already on, and we'll keep it rolling. And of course we'll have another race to cover and things of that nature. But yeah, it's been fun talking with you about this, and I look forward to next week.
Yep. It's good old 39, and we're off to the 40s already. We're already halfway to 80. I was just like I said, we're halfway to 70. Now we're halfway to 80. The episode, the time is just, it's whipping, it's flying out here. It's cruising. We're in a spaceship traveling through time.
Well, take it easy, guys. Have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Peace.